What's up, guys? Barry Gaming here, back with some more Idle Heroes. And today we have one topic on our mind, and that is going to be the Undisputed Champion, the best hero for new players, especially free to play, to go for as your first E5 hero. Because you know, E5 hero is very important now with the Void, with Sealand, getting to Sealand 20 as easy and fast as possible. And, you know, there was always a big conversation between Penny, Delacium, Horus, Garuda as who is the best first E5. I mean, we even had a video with top 5, and I think I even picked Penny in that, but some things have changed, and Horus is by far, in my opinion, the best E5 hero to build first for anybody. So we're going to go over the positives of him and the negatives. We're going to go over kind of a few different things because ever since the new Shadow Mage hero came out, Tix, it has really changed the game up, and it is a very minimal setup for him to get sealed in 20 now. So let's go over all his positives. We're going to go over the hero himself so you guys can understand what he does, especially if you're a newer player. It can be a little confusing to go over a lot of these skills, so let's break it down, go over it. And then we'll go over where he excels the most. So first off, Horus is a warrior from the Shadow faction. He's actually one that's very easy to get. It does seem like they do give him out a little bit easier and more often than other of the elite heroes out there. He is older as well, so he doesn't have as much value to DH games. So you can get copies of him pretty easily, but he is essentially going to be your tank hero. You are going to want to put him in slot 1. Why? Because let's go over a bunch of his skills. Start out with his active, Torment of Flesh and Soul. So essentially what his active will do, it'll target 3 random enemies and put a bleed on them based on a certain attack amount for 3 rounds. If the enemy is in the front line, he will deal an extra 15% damage of the enemy's maximum HP. So max HP abilities are very strong in this game because yes, it does have a cap based on 1500% of Horus's attack, but that's a lot of damage. That's a ton of damage, and you're kind of building Horus attack oriented anyway, so that is very good. If the enemy is in the back line, it is guaranteed an extra 108% of your critical strike damage. So back line is going to be taking a ton of damage. Front row is as well, but each one uses a kind of a different modifier, so that's pretty good. His first passive, Corrupted Rebirth, basically just his passive. Attack and HP are amazing. Armor break is great for him as well. Block 60%. Block is going to be a huge factor and a big thing for Horus. His second passive, Descending Raven. Whenever a hero on the battlefield releases an active skill, so that is either an enemy or an ally, it doesn't matter. Horus gains 5% of attack and 2% of crit damage. So as the fight goes on, it just stacks up higher and higher, and he starts really going crazy. His last passive, Crimson Contract. This one is very important, and why block is so core to his ability. With every 3 successful blocks, Horus dispels all effects of being controlled. So if he's petrified, stunned, whatever, the second he gets hit with that 3rd successful block, he's gonna release himself from all of those crowd controls, and then deals 20% of max HP damage on 3 random enemies with a cap of 2500%, and restores himself by 40% of the damage dealt. So that is huge. That gives him survivability, that gives him extra damage. You want him in slot 1 so that everybody is hitting him, especially in PvE, because so many of the PvE heroes prioritize the front row and especially slot 1. So that is a really great way to build him. Typically what you want to do is you want to run him with full warrior gear with an attack block stone. You don't want HP on Horus, you want to build him attack. And by far, attack block is the best stone. If you are going for pure PvE damage, you could do an attack stone. But essentially, using him with warrior gear, using him with a fearless armor, Plate of the Courageous, whatever you want to call it nowadays, anything that is a damage reduction artifact plus HP is very good. If by chance you get lucky and you manage to find yourself a withered armor, which is the Shadow faction specific one, that'll give you even more HP on your Horus. There are a couple different options when it comes to skins for Horus. There is the Bloody War God. This one is very good for PvE. You have HP, attack, and crit damage. It is very, very solid. But if you're looking to focus more on Sealand, I would highly recommend the Steam Fantasy, because you get block, you get attack, and the big one is that extra 5% damage reduction, which really adds up when he's taking so many hits in Sealand. I know personally I like the look of the War God better. It just looks awesome. He's on fire. It's cool. The Steam Fantasy is kind of cool, but of course it is, in my opinion, the better one overall. So if you have a chance to pick between them, I would grab this. You would have a much easier time when dealing with Sealand. When it comes to picking your monster, your pet for your team, there's really only one choice in the early game, and especially since you're focusing on Shadow Sealand and they have a very easy way to leave a burn on the enemies, that option is going to be the Phoenix. So the Phoenix has a couple really good bonuses. He will give crit damage, he will give holy damage. Those are amazing. There is a little bit of a heal built in, but the biggest part here is it will increase your damage against burning targets by 80%. Now that 80% stacks up throughout the fight. So usually in a Sealand 20 clear, you probably get 4 to 5 activations of the Phoenix, which means you have 320 to 400% increased damage against burning enemies. That is a huge amount of damage and is the only way you're going to be able to do it with a solo Horus. So how do we apply that burn? Because the burn on the Phoenix, a lot of you guys might not know this, but the burn on the Phoenix does not count as a burn. I know, really weird. So how do we do that in Shadow Sealand? The answer to that question is, of course, Deathsworn. Deathsworn is probably one of the most inexpensive heroes you could possibly create for PvE content. Why? Because Deathsworn is one of the best heroes at leaving a burn on up to how many targets? All enemies. That's right, all enemies. So Deathsworn in the lower levels, 4-star, 5-star, they can do like up to 3 different targets with their active. So you don't necessarily have to die. You can just get it on them with their active. But the safest way and the best way for Sealand, because there are 5 enemies, is building a 6-star Deathsworn and getting this last passive right here. When the hero dies, so when Delacium dies, even if it's round 1, he will burn all enemies for 15 rounds, which of course is an entire fight in Shadow Sealand. So that burn right there will make sure the entire fight you have your Phoenix buffs active and you're stacking that damage on your Horus. So the big question out there, guys, from a lot of you are probably like, what makes Horus now the #1 champion, especially for free-to-play players? And that is all down to the new hero, Tix. All you have to do is use a Horus, probably a Deathsworn. I've seen it done without Deathsworn and just a bunch of baby Tix, but all you need are 4 to 5 of these level 100 5-star Tix. Yes, you don't even need to make them 6-star, anything like that. Because Tix is going to make your team live very, very easily. The biggest thing with him is at the end of the round, he will swap attack with the enemies. So essentially, you're just lowering the enemy's attack over and over and over again so that you essentially are taking no damage. Also, his active will make it so that, again, steals 10% of the attack up to 4 targets. Only 5 targets. But every time they're using an active, you're just lowering the attack of the entire enemy to the point where they're basically doing no damage to your team. Plus, there's that added bonus of horrifying and silencing, which are nice soft CCs. Of course, we don't have crowd control really in Shadow Sealand, but this is a nice way. Horrify will make it so they can't use their basic. Silence will mean they can't use their active and they have to just use their basic for the turn. So yeah, Tix is what has made it so that all you need is an E5 Horus built to how we discussed, a Deathsworn, and 4 Tix. That's all you got to do, and you can actually do Sealand 20, which is absolutely amazing. It's kind of crazy how one hero can change everything, just like in Dark Land, how Carry and Amon-Ra did that as well. One of the other reasons why you should prioritize building one E5, put all of your food into your one Horus at the beginning of the game, is because once you get E5, you unlock the Void, which is going to be a great way to start saving up for resources, save up for potential Void heroes down the road when you can actually build the heroes associated with them, and get tons of extra gameplay, because we only have one new Void game mode out. There's 2 more to come, so we'll have to see how that goes as well. Lastly, guys, we're going to go over the pros and cons of him, just so you understand the hero and where he strives to be the best, and sometimes isn't the greatest overall, but he is amazing in early game PvE. He is a god tier hero when you're talking about getting your Land completion done. The one place he actually really does struggle is going to be PvP. He can do okay early game PvP, but once you get to the mid game, late game, end game, he is pretty much non-existent and does absolutely nothing when it comes to PvP. But again, if it's your first hero, your early game, he will serve you decently. Of course, you will lose to the teams that have Garudas, that have Pennies, that have these other heroes that are much, much better in PvP. As far as Aspen Dungeon goes, he is a solid hero. With the correct RNG and the correct luck, you can actually get to Death 1, which is very important because, well, you can get up to level 345 for your heroes, which is going to help your team out, make Horus stronger, make him be able to do Land 20, do absolutely amazing. The other place he does very well is in Tower of Oblivion. Those pesky Mim waves, you know, the 6 Mim waves, he will be able to solo those for you up to about the last one. So there are tons of advantages of having Horus. I mean, if you guys don't agree, let me know, but in my opinion, Horus is the undisputed champion for free-to-play, low spenders, those in the early game. He will last you until you have that full E5 team, and then you transition away from him. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, enter all those giveaways in case you want to help power up your team with CD keys, gift cards, different accounts, things like that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Hopefully it was informative. Let me know if you disagree, if you agree, anything like that, and I'll see you guys next time.